Let's begin by offering our respects to ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we welcome all of you to our weekly online Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you all very much for joining. We have with us here Auntie Neeta, Shivani, Divya, Aja, Dipti Adnani, Durga Prasad, Bhumika, Karuna, Khushbu, Jagrati, Lavina, Manju, Neha Chatlani, Ritu Lalwani, then my parents are there, Sri Radhe Hari Devi Dasi, Swapna, and we have Varsha. Okay. So in the previous class, we completed chapter number 14. So in chapter 14, we saw how Krishna described in detail the three modes of material nature. And then Arjuna asks a very crucial question. Arjuna's question is, how can we overcome? How can we cross over? How can we transcend the modes of nature? So here, Arjuna asks crucial question. How can one transcend the modes of material nature? So in reply to this, Krishna said that this can be transcended when one engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. So because Arjuna asked that crucial question, Krishna was able to end the chapter again by glorifying devotional service, by glorifying bhakti. Now, bhakti has two aspects. What are the two aspects of bhakti? One is attachment to Krishna, and two is detachment from sense gratification. So here now in chapter 15, Krishna is going to talk about how we can detach ourselves from sense gratification. So this is the connecting link between chapter 14 and chapter 15. Now chapter 15 is titled The Yoga of the
Supreme Person.
Yes, Yoga of the Supreme Person. So in other words, Purushottam Yoga. If you give a Sanskrit term to this title, then the title is Purushottam Yoga. Purusha means person, right? And Uttama means supreme. So Purushottam means supreme person. Purushottam, so the Lord, Krishna, is Purushottam. We are all persons, but we are not Purushottam. We are Purushas, but we are not Uttama. So Purushottam means, actually we are not Purusha, we are Prakriti, we are material nature. But if we say that we are people, but we are not the topmost person, that topmost person is God. He is the supreme controller. So yoga of the supreme person means Purushottam yoga. This is the reason why during the month of Purushottam, which comes once every 3 to 3.5 years, very, very auspicious month, this chapter is recommended to be read every day, Purushottam yoga, because it is a month of Purushottam. So chapter 15 has 20 verses. It is the shortest chapter of the Bhagavad Gita along with the 12th chapter. 12th and 15th chapters are the shortest chapters. They both have 20 verses each. Who can read today?
I can read.
Okay, thank you, Divya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so as I said, title Yoga of the Supreme Person, 15th chapter, 20 verses. But of course, as usual, before we learn this chapter, read, recite, what are the benefits? We need to know what is the benefit of learning, reading, reciting, learning this particular chapter. So these histories are from the Gita Mahatmya of the Padma Purana. So this is Lord Shiva speaking to Goddess Parvati. So the history goes that in Gauda Desh, there was a king called Narasingha. He was very, very powerful. In fact, he was so powerful that he was able to defeat even the demigods, even the Devatas. Now, he had a commander-in-chief. So the commander-in-chief of his army, his name was Sarab Merund. Sarab Merund. He was very greedy, and along with the prince, he plotted to kill the king and become the ruler. But it so happened that he died of cholera before he could execute his plan. Now what happens? This commander-in-chief, he took his next birth as a horse in a country called Sindhu. He had some good karma as well. So although he was in the body of a horse, but he was not an ordinary horse. He was a very sought after horse because he was very, very beautiful and he could run very fast. And once the son of a rich man of Gaudadesh, he saw this horse and he bought him with the intention of selling him to the king Narasingha. Now, obviously, if the king is going to purchase it, he's going to purchase it for a good amount of money. So he wanted to sell this to the king. So he goes to the palace, and the king very carefully examined the horse, and he realized that yes, indeed, this horse is of the highest quality. So he bought it at whatever price was quoted. After some days, the king went hunting and rode on this particular horse. Remember, this horse in the previous life was his commander in chief. No? So after some time, the king goes hunting and he rode on this horse. And as he went hunting, he followed a deer. And it so happened that he went deep in the forest. And he went so deep in the forest that his party was actually left behind. The people with whom he left, those people were left far behind, and he went deep into the forest. Now the king was all alone. He was tired and thirsty, and he decided to rest under a tree. He tied the horse to a tree and himself sat on a large rock. After a while, he saw a piece of parchment. Now, what is a parchment? A parchment is a small, thin piece of animal skin that was used in the previous ages to write. No. So it so happened that when he's sitting there resting on that large rock, a piece of parchment came there. And then he picked up that parchment and he saw that something was written on that parchment. Can you guess what was written on the parchment?
Chapter 15 Bhagavad Gita.
Chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita. So can we write the entire chapter on a small parchment paper?
Just one shloka was written.
One shloka was written. Actually, not even one shloka, just half a shloka was written. Half a shloka of chapter 15 was written on it. The king started to read it, and as soon as the first sound came out of his mouth, the horse collapsed on the ground, attained a four-armed form, sat on a flower airplane that took him to Vaikuntha. So just imagine, just half a shloka has that potency, no? Just half a shloka. So the king then noticed that there was an ashram nearby, surrounded by fruits and trees, and sitting in that ashram was a brahmana who had complete control over his senses. So the king approached him very, very respectfully and inquired from him, how was it possible that that horse could attain Vaikuntha? So the brahmana, now this brahmana's name is Vishnu Sharma. Vishnu Sharma. So now Vishnu Sharma says, O king, that horse actually was the commander-in-chief of your army. He was Sarab Merun in his previous life. And he had plotted to kill you along with the prince, but he died of cholera before he could execute his plan. By chance, he heard some words of chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore he attained Vaikuntha. Now the king realized the potency of chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita. So he returned to his capital, and again he read what was in that parchment paper. And after a short time, he installed his son as the king of Gaudadesh and himself went off to the forest where he regularly recited the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and very quickly attained the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So this is the Falashruti of chapter number 15. So what is the connection between chapter 14 and 15? As we already discussed, at the end of chapter 14, Krishna described that one transcends the modes through devotional service. So the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activities and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. So devotional service has two aspects, attachment and detachment. Attachment to the Lord and detachment from material activities. The process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed in the beginning of this chapter. So this is what is described in the beginning of this particular chapter. Now, of these two, which do you think is more important? This
Attachment to Krishna.
Attachment to
attachment to Krishna is more important. Why? Because when this happens,
Because he helps you transcend the three modes of material nature.
okay. See, the point is when one is attached to Krishna, then detachment from material sense gratification happens automatically. We don't have to artificially endeavor to be detached because that artificial endeavorance will not work. This is the reason why New Year resolutions will never work. No, people take a New Year resolution okay, this year, no more smoking. But how long can they stick to it? So as long as there is no attachment to the Lord, we cannot get detachment from material sense gratification. Just as how if a child is holding on to a toy and you tell the child, okay, give up this toy, just give away this toy, the child will not be willing to give it away. But if you give the child something better, more attractive, then the child will be willing to give away the old toy. Then the child will be detached from that toy because he's getting something better. So attachment to Krishna is so nectarian that once we are attached to Krishna, or once we start to develop attachment to Krishna, automatically detachment will take place by default. So we don't have to first be completely detached and then we think, okay, now I will take to devotional service. Now I will take to chanting. No, you just, no matter who you are, whatever position you are in, you can start off engaging in the processes of devotional service. Of course, devotional service begins with Shravanam and Kirtanam, chanting and hearing and chanting. So when we start to chant the holy name, automatically we will see that now we are no more interested in the lower interests, like material sense gratification. So when A happens, when attachment happens, then detachment automatically happens. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the introduction of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as long as there is the desire to enjoy sensually, or to become one with the Supreme, or to possess the mystic powers, there is no question of attaining the stage of pure devotional service. So if we have the desire to sensually enjoy, if we want to enjoy our senses, or we have the desire to become one with the Supreme, what is that one with the Supreme? Here Prabhupada is talking about the Mayavadis, become one with the Supreme, or to possess the mystic powers. So the Dhyana yogis, when they are in the process of the Dhyana yoga, which we discussed in detail in the entire chapter previously, they one side benefit is that they develop some mystic powers. No, there are some mystic powers. So some of them can start. They have the ability to walk on water. Some of them have the ability to transport themselves from one place to the other place without having to take any transport. No, they can just, because by their thinking, by their desire, they can transport themselves from one place to another far off place also. So like that, anyway, there are different siddhis or different mystic powers that can be developed. But it's not so glorious to have those mystic powers. What is glorious is to attain pure devotional service. So to come to that stage of pure devotional service, yes, detachment is important. So all these are material benefits, material benefits. Even the desire to become one with the Supreme is a hindrance, is coming in the way of attaining pure devotional service. Because what is the highest stage, the purest stage of devotion, purest stage of bhakti is, I just love Krishna. To love God is the highest stage. It's the purest stage of devotional service. So if Krishna wants me to be in the material world, for whatever reason, then a devotee is ready to remain in the material world. If Krishna wants you to go to hell, then the devotee is happy to go to hell also. The devotee does not even have the desire to become one with the Supreme. Because anyway, when he's on the stage of pure devotional service, he is with Krishna. Then it doesn't matter whether he's in heaven or hell or in Vaikuntha or Goloka, it does not matter to him. So this is divided into 5 sections and we will see as we go. This chapter begins by Krishna giving an analogy of a banyan tree. He gives this analogy. He compares a material world to a banyan tree. The banyan tree in Sanskrit is called as Ashwatha. And he describes how this material world is like an upside down banyan tree. This is the analogy that Krishna gives in the beginning of this chapter. Then later he describes Purushottam Yoga in verses 6 to 20, which is the title of the chapter. So let's hear the shloka.
अथ पञ्चदशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम् अश्वत्थम् प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and the branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas.
So Krishna says, sorry, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its root upward and branches down. So he is comparing the material world with an upside down banyan tree. The banyan tree is upside down. So when the tree is upside down, then the branches are up. The roots are upward. No, so the roots are upward and the branches are down. And then Krishna is comparing the leaves as the Vedic hymns. Then he says, one who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Now, where can you find actually an upside down banyan tree?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
What about a shadow form? Can you find a shadow of the shadow of a real tree by the river? Is it an upside down banyan tree or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't it? So see, this material world is compared to an upside down banyan tree, which means this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. This upside down banyan tree is a reflection of the real tree. So the real tree is the spiritual world. This material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Now, whatever is in the spiritual world is there in the material world, true or false?
True.
Because whatever is in the original tree, you can see in the reflection of that tree, isn't it? But does it really exist?
No.
No, because on this original tree, you can have fruits, leaves, branches, but in the shadow, it appears that it is there, but is it really there? It is really not there.
No.
So this is the reason why it is said that this material world is an illusion. Now, what do you mean by material world is an illusion? It doesn't mean that it does not exist. The material world does exist. That is real. No, the existence of the material world is real. But the experiences of happiness or joy that one thinks one is getting in this material world is not real. That is only an illusion. Because Maya promises you the world, but in the end, it is only pain that she will bring. So just like how when we watch a movie, the fact that the movie is going on is true. But the emotions that one is going through in the movie, that is an illusion. The actors are crying, so there is separation, or there is love and there is union. So those emotions, so actually those actors are only acting. It's not that really there is separation, really there is union. And then we are going through those emotions, is it not? So the fact that this material world exists is true. But the emotions or the thought that we will be enjoying this material world, that is an illusion. That is an illusion. See, let's read some points from the purport. The entanglement of this material world is compared to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. So if you're engaged in fruitive activities, if you're engaged in activities for sense gratification, because you're expecting some fruits in return, then there is no end to the banyan tree. If you see a banyan tree is very, very thick, see like this. No, it's like a puzzle from which one cannot get out. There is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end. For one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. So as long as we are attached materially, then there is no possibility of liberation. We will just be caught up here in the branches, going from one branch to the other branch, to the other branch, to the other branch, until we don't surrender to Krishna. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. This tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. So we say, no, the root of existence. So because the roots of this tree are upward, so we can say when we came down, what is the highest planet in the material world? Which loka?
Brahmaloka.
Brahmaloka.
Brahma Loka, isn't it? And in the previous class, what did we discuss? What is the first body that we get when we fall down from the spiritual world?
Brahma.
Brahma.
The body of Brahma, isn't it? So now you can see the connection. So the roots are upward. So the first, the root of our material existence is beginning from the topmost planet, and the topmost planet is that of Brahma. And who's in charge of Brahma Loka? It is Lord Brahma. So now we can see the connection. So this tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. So again, you have to understand the lock mechanism in order to be able to open the lock that is keeping you tied down. So what are the leaves of this tree? These leaves are, so previously we have learned how the Vedas are divided into different sections, and the initial sections of the Vedas talk about karma kanda, material religiosity, what we have to do in order to get our material desires fulfilled. So the Vedas initially give you information on such things. For example, if you want to have a child, then what kind of yagya you should do. Or if you want to have success in business, then you do this particular yagya. If you want to live a long life, then what is the material religiosity ceremony that you have to do. So like that, initial section of the Vedas all deal with material religiosity or karma kanda. So that is very, very attractive, no, for a person who's not a pure devotee, but one wants to live a religious life, but is not on the stage of pure bhakti. Then he will. This is very attractive. Oh yes, I want this, so I do this particular yajna and I can get my desire fulfilled. So like that, when the leaves of the tree are lush green, then they are very, very attractive. So that's why the Vedic hymns are called the leaves of this tree. Say you can see this banyan tree. So this banyan tree has aerial roots. You can see it. So these branches are growing downward, and it appears as though the roots are aerial. It appears as though the roots are growing from down to up. It appears that way. Of course, it's not like that. But this is and you can see how the banyan tree is huge and big. No, so this is the analogy that Krishna is giving to help us understand this material world. So this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So as we discussed, whatever is there in the original is there in the reflection, but it is only a reflection. So for example, in the spiritual world, there is love, there is pure love. But in the material world, do we have pure love?
No.
No. So what is a perverted reflection of love in the material world? It is lust. We think it is love, but actually it is lust. So like that, what is love in the spiritual world is lust in the material world. So this material world is a perverted reflection, not only reflection, but a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Then what does Krishna say? One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas. This is explained in the purport as follows. After discussing Bhakti Yoga, one may question, what about the Vedas? So chapter 15 describes the purpose of Vedic study is to understand Krishna. The whole purpose of studying the Vedas is actually to understand Krishna, to come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one who is, understand Krishna, one can actually never finish, the thing about understanding Krishna is when you really understand that you cannot understand Krishna is when you actually begin to understand Krishna. So it's impossible to fully understand Krishna. Achintya Bheda Veda Tattva. Inconceivable. He is inconceivable. Therefore, one who is in Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service, already knows the Vedas. So we don't have to separately learn the Vedas. Actually, most of the Vedas now are not even available to us unfortunately, because of different reasons. Because of the influence of Kali Yuga, most of the Vedas are not available to us. Some parts we have. Bhagavad Gita we have, fortunately. Bhagavatam we have, fortunately. Like that we have some books. But most of the Vedas are now not available. But one who is engaged in devotional service, Just by engaging in devotional service, you get realizations. And that, so it is understood by default that one has already understood one already knows the Vedas. So let us try to understand this analogy. So the real tree is the spiritual world. You can see this here. The shadow of the tree is the material world. Now this blue section here is the river. If there is no river, there would be no reflection. So this river actually indicates our material desires. If we do not have any material desires, then there would be no material world. We come down here because we have material desires. Is it not? So just as how we have to have a river for the reflection, there has to be material desire for for the material world to exist. So what are the roots? Roots are our material existence. So we can see this is an upside down tree. So the roots are up. So our existence here begins here in Brahma Loka as Lord Brahma. Branches, various planetary systems. So we have upper and lower planetary systems. So we know upper is the higher planetary systems. Then we have the earthly planetary systems, and then we have the lower planetary systems. So these branches are the various planetary systems. On top, the top part of the branches are the higher planetary systems, starting from Brahma Loka, and then we have the planet of the great sages, and we have the planets of the demigods, the devatas. And then the lower planetary systems are the, here you can see, animalistic life. And what are the fruits of this tree? So the fruits of this tree here are sense gratification, religiosity, economic development, and liberation. Here you can see. So actually, these are the 4 subject matters of the Vedas. The Vedas have 4 subject matters. What are they? Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma, religiosity, that is material religiosity, what we discussed, Karma Kanda. Artha is economic development. Kama is sense gratification, and moksha is liberation. So these are the fruits of this tree of material nature. So these fruits are the results of the living entity's activities, namely dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. So because we are engaging in activities here, therefore we have these fruits. For example, when we do a yagya so that we can have a nice son. So that is material religiosity. Now, when we lead a life according to the Vedic injunctions, although it may be material religiosity, it will automatically lead to economic development. So it will lead to artha, economic development. Now, when there is economic development, when one is economically very, very comfortably placed, then automatically it will lead to sense gratification. So you have the money, you have the wealth, you have the resources. So then you engage in sense gratification. And when one is frustrated with sense gratification, when one understands that, okay, life after life after life, I'm engaging in the sense gratification. Maybe somebody is very lusty and he keeps on changing partners in order to satisfy his sensual desires, his lusty desires. But then he comes to a realization that no matter how many partners I change, I'm not able to be satisfied. It's not keeping me happy. So then he is frustrated and fried with material life. No, it's like chewing the chewed. Prahlad Maharaj said. So when you chew a sugar cane, you keep on chewing, and finally there is no more juice coming out, and you keep on chewing. So there is no more. It's not giving you any happiness. No, chewing the chewed. So then at that point, one says, okay, I want to just get out of this place. So moksha, liberation. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha are the fruits or the results of the activities of the living entities. The leaves, Vedic hymns, one who's attracted by the ritualistic Vedic formulas is just attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the banyan tree and does not know the purpose of the Vedas. So this we have already discussed. So this is the analogy that Krishna is giving. So you can see here branches are going down, impious act. Here you can see. So there are branches that are going down and going up. If we engage in pious activities, then we can go higher and higher in this tree. And if we engage in impious activities, then we go lower and lower in this tree of material existence. This tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. This means that the Jiva begins his material journey as Brahma. Both the Lord and the living entity being qualitatively spirit soul. So the Lord and the Jiva, God and us, we are equal in quality, only in quality, remember, not in quantity. So because we are qualitatively the same, we have the tendency for peaceful enjoyment. So yes, if we have the desire to enjoy, it is not unnatural. It is only natural that we want to enjoy, because being a part and parcel of Krishna, we want to enjoy. So yes, we can enjoy, but we have to enjoy with Krishna. We cannot enjoy independent of Krishna. That is where the mistake is. So both the Lord and the living entity, being qualitatively spirit soul, have the tendency for peaceful enjoyment. But when the part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead unfortunately wants to enjoy independently without Krishna, he is put into the material world, where he begins his life as Brahma and is gradually degraded to the status of an ant or a worm in stool. So see how the degradation is happening. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So between these two requirements, detachment from the material activities and process of attachment by transcendental service, which should we concentrate more on first? We already answered this question. So see this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. For one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifference towards all other things. So just by hearing, we discussed how Shravanam, hearing is the Shravanam Kirtanam at the beginning of the devotional service. So just by hearing the glories of Krishna, hearing about Krishna, or hearing from Krishna, all that is Krishna Katha, from the devotees or from Krishna, it increases our indifference towards all other things. So detachment is happening by default. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by the devotee who has achieved transcendental bliss vanquishes all his miseries without delay. So it's very quick. It's very, very quick. It acts so fast. Asu, the word asu means very, very fast. This transformation will take place just by hearing. It all begins by hearing. So say, if you see this shloka, Krishna uses the word Ashwatham. Ashwatham means a banyan tree. But the acharyas explain how this word also has other meanings. The word Ashwatham can be also understood as follows. Swa means tomorrow, and Ashwa means not tomorrow, and Ta means to stay. So thus Ashwatam can be taken as that which will not exist tomorrow, that which will not stay, that which will not exist tomorrow. So this material world is Ashwatam, not existing tomorrow, both for the devotees and for the non-devotees. Now, how is it that the material world will not exist for the devotees in the future?
They'll be liberated.
Yes, they will be liberated. So they are no more going to be here in this material world. So therefore, for the devotees, this material world will not exist tomorrow. But for the non-devotees, how it will not exist tomorrow?
The body is temporary, so they'll give up the body and they'll take up another body, and then this material world winds up in the system of God.
Yes. So that time they are in the material world or they are in the spiritual world?
In the material world.
They are still in the material world. So
Yeah.
then?
Maybe they can be degraded also.
Okay. So when they are degraded, they are in the material world or in the spiritual world?
Material world. still.
So how come the material world will not exist for the non-devotees?
It will exist for them until they engage in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, but when they engage in Krishna consciousness, now they are devotees or non-devotees?
Devotees.
Now they are devotees. But the point is, how come the material world will not exist tomorrow for the non-devotees? Okay, let's see. It doesn't exist tomorrow for the devotees because the devotees will become liberated tomorrow and attain the spiritual world. This Varsha already answered. The tree doesn't exist tomorrow for the non-devotees because everything that they are attached to will cease to exist. So that way for them, because everything that is material will cease to exist in the future. Whatever they think is mine will cease to exist in the future. So that way, this tree doesn't exist tomorrow for the non-devotees. The word avyayam also indicates that although the fruits of their attachment will cease to exist tomorrow, the non-devotee's material existence is avyayam. It is everlasting. So their existence is everlasting, but the fruits of their labor, that will cease to exist tomorrow for the non-devotees. Now there's another meaning of ashwa, which the acharyas explain. In Sanskrit, ashwa also means horse. A horse often stands with 3 legs on the ground and 1 leg dangling, as you can see in the picture. Similarly, the 3 solid standing legs of existence, Tripada Vibhuti, represent the spiritual world, while the dangling leg, the Ekapada Vibhuti, is the material world. So what is the connection? 3 legs spiritual world, 1 leg material world. Have we discussed the proportion of the material world and the spiritual world in the past?
Yeah.
Not 100% spiritual world.
So what is the percentage?
75.
Yes, 70. Yes, so 1/4 of the spiritual realm is the material world. No, we have discussed that. How 3/4 is the spiritual world, 1/4 is the material world. So the 3 solid legs of the horse represent the spiritual world, while the dangling leg is the material world. So there's another explanation of the word ashwa. Okay, let's go to the second verse.
अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके.
The branches of this tree extend downwards and upward, nourished by the 3 modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society.
So the branches of the tree extend downward and upward. How are these nourished? So of course, if there's a tree, the tree has to be nourished, no? Nourished with water. So the tree of material existence is nourished by the modes of material nature. Modes of material nature. So we will discuss this. And the twigs are the objects of the senses. This also we'll see in the next slide. The tree also has its roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. So let's see. So the twigs of the tree are compared to the sense objects, and the tips of the branches are compared to the senses. So this is how the tips of the branches of a tree are attached to the twigs. So the twigs are branching out from the tips of the branches. So the twigs are the sense objects. What are the sense objects? Smell, touch, taste, form, and sound. And the 5 senses are the nose, tongue,
Ears,
skin,
nose, eyes.
and ears. So just as how the tips of the branches are attached to the twigs, in the same way, the senses are attached to sense objects, which means the nose is attracted by a particular kind of smell. The tongue is attracted to a particular kind of taste, and so on and so forth. So this is the analogy. The tongue is attached to tasting nice food stuff. So the fruits are dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This also we have already discussed. Then nourishment, the 3 modes of material nature. So in the higher parts of the tree, see here in the upper, the higher parts, I mean here in the upper planetary systems, this upper planetary systems are nourished by the modes of the mode of goodness. Then in the middle, you have the mode of passion, and down is the mode of ignorance. So in the earthly planets is the mode of passion. Now here everybody is busy with their activities. Now we saw the mode of passion. We saw in detail the characteristics of the mode of passion in the previous class. So you can see how this tree is nourished by the different modes. So higher are the those entities who are in the mode of goodness, and they are just ready to transcend this particular mode and take to the mode of transcendental goodness, which is the mode that is existing in the spiritual realm. So here, these living entities here are almost on the verge of liberation. Starting from Lord Brahma and the Devatas, they are in the mode of goodness. Then as you go deeper and deeper into this tree, lower and lower, then you have the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance being more prominent. See, material world is a tree nourished by three modes and fruitive activities. Different species manifest according to the proportions of modes. When there is less water, the tract is barren. When there is more water, the tract is green. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestations of living entities, human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, whereas on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods, the Gandharvas, and so many other higher species of life. As a tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes the tract is very green. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionately greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested accordingly. So as we discussed in the higher section of this tree of material existence, the mode of goodness is more greater in quantity. So therefore, you have those kind of species who are in the mode of goodness, like the great sages, the devatas, starting from Lord Brahma. But in the lowest part of this tree of material existence is the mode of ignorance that is more prominent, and therefore you will see the animalistic species of life are manifested down. So here you have a more clearer picture. You can see here animals, which represent the mode of ignorance. Then mode of passion here, human beings. Some of them are engaged in karma kanda activities. Some of them are engaged in their material duties, materialistic life. Some of them are engaged in sinful activities here. Mode of passion. And here is mode of goodness. 3 and 4.
न रूपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead, from where everything began, and from where everything has extended since time immemorial.
So Krishna is saying the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. Nobody can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. So if you want to trace out when did I fall down? After that, what happened? After taking the body of Lord Brahma, then what happened? Then which body did I take? And what are the different species that I have crossed through? Where have I lived all those millions of lifetimes? What was I in the previous life? What did I do before that? Who were my parents in the previous life? So it's not possible to find out. You cannot know. So the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand. You cannot understand where your material existence started, where it began, what is the foundation. It's not possible to know. But you can come out of it, Krishna is saying, but you can come out of it. How can we come out of this tree? By cutting down the strongly rooted tree with a weapon. So if you want to cut through, you need a weapon. So what is the weapon? It is the weapon of detachment.
Detachment.
So that is the weapon with which we can cut through and come out of this strongly rooted tree. And for cutting through, we need determination. That's why over and again we have spoken about how in spiritual life determination is very, very important quality to have. Don't let Maya win the battle. You have to defeat her. So with determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, so what is the result? If you do this, then what is the result? What is the benefit that you get? You can seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. So here Krishna again he says that once you attain to the spiritual world, you will not come back again. You will not fall down again. Because sometimes people somebody may ask, no, that okay, I sacrifice, I surrender, and I do so many things. I do my I do all that the Shastra says, I do all that Krishna wants me to do, and I go back. But what if I have to come back and do the whole thing all over again? What's the guarantee? No, so Krishna is here, he's giving you the guarantee that once you go there, one never returns. One never returns. So thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So Krishna is not only presenting the problem, he is also giving you the solution, how to come out of that strongly rooted tree. See, yeah, Shivani, you have a question?
Yeah, Aditi. So you said you never come back. So even though we have free will, we're here because we misuse the free will. So what guarantee there is when we go back, we again use our free will, then we have to come back again, right?
Yes, so the lesson, that the point here is we have come to this material world. We have gone through these trials and tribulations and suffering. So now we have learned our lesson. Now we have learned our lesson. We have already burnt our fingers. If you tell a child, don't touch the fire, the child out of curiosity may still go and touch the fire. But once the child touches the fire and gets his fingers burnt, you think the child will ever do it again?
No.
No.
He will never do it again, because now the child has learned his lesson. So we have already come to the material world. We have already burnt our fingers. So we have learned our lesson. So therefore it will not happen again. Although we still have the free will, now we will no more misuse our free will because we have learned our lesson.
But there's always a possibility.
Possibility is always there. That possibility is always there, but it will not happen because we have learned our lesson. It is possible, but not plausible. Okay. So let's take an example. If there is this huge truck that is tied with a rope to this person. Now this person out of false ego says, hey, look, I'm so powerful, I'm so strong that I'm not allowing this truck to go ahead. No. So he, out of his false ego, he thinks that he's the controller. Now what happens? The driver comes and he puts the truck in reverse gear, and the truck is approaching him slowly. The truck is approaching him, but still this guy out of false ego, he says that, hey, look, I am controlling the truck. It is me who's controlling the truck. And he thinks that this truck will not come so close to him and damage him or hurt him. Now the truck comes very close to him, and suddenly the driver puts the truck in forward gear, and he's going to drive in forward gear. Now this man is finished, isn't it? What can he do to save himself? He has no
Nothing.
control over the driver.
Cut the rope.
He has to
He
cut
has,
the rope.
yes,
the
he
rope.
has to cut this rope, isn't it? He has to cut this rope. So this is exactly what Krishna is saying. You have to cut the rope of material existence with the weapon of
Detachment.
detachment. Yes, with the weapon of detachment. Correct. So what is this truck indicating? The truck nearing him indicates actually death. Death. So death is fast approaching each one of us. No, the moment we were born itself, our date of expiry has been established. Our expiry date is already there. So death is fast approaching, fast approaching, fast approaching. But we think that it will not happen to us. We see everyone around us dying. We see our relatives, friends. We see so many of them dying even in young age. But we think, no, it will not happen to us. So we live a life as though death will not come anytime soon. But yes, death does approach, and then death is going to take you away. So how to cut the rope? With the acts of knowledge and detachment, by saintly association. So we have a Bhagavatam verse here. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So in the association of pure devotees, Satam Prasangan. So Satam Prasangan, in the association of pure devotees, Krishna is saying, Mama Virya Samvido. Mama means my. Virya Samvido means discussion of my wonderful activities are very pleasing. Rit Karna. Rit Karna. Rit means heart and Karna means ears. So when the Lord's wonderful activities are discussed in the association of pure devotees, that is very pleasing to the heart and to the ears. See, Rasayana, Rasa, no, it's very, very pleasing. It's very nectarian to the heart and the ears. Then what happens? Asu, Krishna is saying that Tad Josanat Asu Apavarga Vartmani. Then where is that? Asu here, Asu word here, quickly. So one can very quickly be on the path of liberation. Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishyati. So then automatically devotion, bhakti will follow. Then real devotion and devotional service will begin. So this automatically follows. So what we need to do is Satam Prasangan. We have to have devotee association. And in that devotee association, obviously devotees are not going to discuss, I don't know, cricket or Bollywood. They are going to discuss the wonderful activities of the Lord. That is the discussion that goes on between the devotees. So that is very pleasing to the heart and the ears. And automatically then very quickly one can be placed on the path of devotion and devotional service.
निर्मानमोहाजितसङ्गदोष अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैर्गच्छन्त्यमूढाः पदमव्ययम् तम्.
Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who are unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
So now the next question is, how can we surrender? How can we surrender? So this verse is describing the surrendering process, and there are 7 points that Krishna gives. What are the 7 points? First of all, you are one has to be free from false prestige. False prestige. Don't think that I am the controller. So one has to be free from false prestige. 2, free from illusion. One needs to get a reality check. 3, false association. Stay away from bad association. 4, you have to understand that you are eternal. Why? What is the reason that no one wants to die? What is the reason that no one wants to get a disease or nobody wants to be old? Is because by nature we are eternal. That's the reason why. So the fact that we don't want to die is an indication that we are not supposed to die, because the soul is eternal. So if we understand that we are eternal. Then 5, who are done with material lust. Yes, you're done with it. You're frustrated. You're fried. You don't want it anymore. No, you're fed up of chewing the chewed. No more sucking of the sugarcane, which is now devoid of the juice. No, you are done with material lust and free from the dualities of happiness and distress. So one is equipoised. One is equipoised. Not that one is very excited in happiness and forgets God, or one is under very distressful condition and one is blaming God. So you're free from dualities. You are equipoised. You take everything as Krishna's mercy. And who are unbewildered. Unbewildered means you know the shastras, you know why what is happening. You're not bewildered by the changes. No? So those who are unbewildered, they know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person and to attain to that eternal kingdom. So here you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the 7 points of surrender. See here, you can see in this picture, this person is surrendering to Krishna because he is free from all these qualities that are mentioned here. No, he has qualified himself with all these 7 points here. He's surrendering to Krishna. Here you can see there are other who are not surrendered to Krishna. So they are gossiping, they are making fun of him. So there will always be such people, such characters. But this person is not concerned about what they think, because he knows he is doing the right thing. He has surrendered to Krishna.
न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम.
That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
So from verses 6 to 11, Krishna is describing the spiritual world, because previously in 4th verse, in the 4th shloka, Krishna said about you will go to that place, that place from where one doesn't have to come back again. So what is that place? What is the nature of that place? One may say, okay, what is that place like? No, so he's describing that place. So what is he saying? That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or the moon, nor by fire or electricity. So in the spiritual world, if you don't have the sun or the moon or the fire or the electricity, how is that spiritual abode illuminated? If there is no sun, there is no moon, there is no fire, there is no electricity.
Effulgence of Krishna.
Of Krishna.
Exactly, isn't it? So where Krishna is present, you don't need. I was listening to another lecture, and there's this very nice pastime. A devotee went to Srila Prabhupada and complained that today we were distributing books, Srila Prabhupada, and this particular devotee, he was advertising that take this Bhagavad Gita and go and solve all your problems. And a woman approached him and said, oh, really? This book of yours will solve all the problems? I have an electricity issue in my apartment. We don't have electricity. Will me purchasing this book solve that electricity problem as well? So the devotee said, yes, it will solve your electricity problem. You take it and go. So this other devotee complained to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, you have taught us not to speak any lies. And this devotee was actually speaking lie and distributing the Bhagavad Gita. So then Prabhupada commented to another devotee that actually it's not a lie. Why? Because her electricity issue will be solved if she reads the book applies the principles, she goes to the spiritual world, so she doesn't require any electricity anymore. So actually, it's not a lie.
So,
So see, this is this verse just reminded me of that pastime. So Krishna says that that supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or the moon, nor the fire or the electricity. And again, Krishna says, he again says, those who reach it never return to this material world. And again, Krishna, see, repeatedly, Krishna throughout the Gita, he says that how his abode is the topmost abode, how he is the Purushottam, how he is the supreme person. There is never, not even once in the entire Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states anybody else or anything else to be higher than him or his abode. So see, he says, Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. So that Paramam Dhama, that topmost Dham is mine, Krishna saying. Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. So that supreme abode of mine. So again, Krishna reiterates that the topmost destination is the Loka where Krishna resides. So from the purport, the huge lotus is the original spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, the abode of Radha and Krishna. The spiritual effulgence around this planet is the Brahmajyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist. So if one is an impersonalist, if one thinks that God is only a light, then one's destination is the Brahmajyoti. So that is the goal of the impersonalists. Within the universal Brahmajyoti are the innumerable spiritual planets which are dominated by plenary expansions of Lord Krishna and inhabited by ever-liberated living beings. So here you can see these are the Vaikuntha planets. So the center of that lotus, the wall, is where Lord Krishna is residing with Srimati Radharani, his Gopa friends, and he is manifesting his Vrindavan pastimes eternally over here. Here eternally he is a 16-year-old boy and Srimati Radharani is a 14-year-old girl. Here the residents are not aware that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. So here the love for Krishna is spontaneous. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord is in the formal avatar. It's like the man in office and the man at home. No, when the father is in the house, he may be the owner of a CEO company, but his children are riding on his back. So it's informal over there. There is more intimacy in that relationship. In the Vaikuntha planets, there is more formality. Here, the people are aware that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So it's like the person in the office, dressed in a suit with a tie. The relationship is more formal. But of course, it also comprises the spiritual realm. So one corner of the spiritual world is the material world, which we have discussed. Sometimes a spiritual cloud overtakes a corner of the spiritual sky and the covered portion is called Mahatattva or the material sky. The Lord as Mahavishnu lies down in the water within the Mahatattva, which is called the causal ocean. So we have discussed this in great detail, how Mahavishnu is the first expansion of Krishna in the material world. And he's lying down and he's creating universes by his breathing. Mahavishnu enters each universe as Garbhodakashay Vishnu and lies in the Garbha ocean on the serpentine Shesha incarnation. So then into each universe, Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodakashay Vishnu. And here you can see this is one universe and Garbhodakashay Vishnu is there. And he half fills the universe with his sweat because initially they are hollow shells. So he half fills them with the sweat and that is called as the Garbhodaka ocean. And he's lying on the Ananta Shesha. From his navel, a lotus stem sprouts. And on the lotus, Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. So from the navel of Garbhodakashay Vishnu, a lotus comes and from there, Brahma comes into existence. Brahma creates all the living beings in different shapes in terms of their desires within the universe. So what does Lord Brahma do? Lord Brahma is creating the different bodies according to our desires and according to what we deserve. We get those different bodies within the universe. And he also creates the other planetary systems. He also creates the sun, moon, and the other demigods. 7.
ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Mama eva amsho jiva loke. So Krishna is saying that all these jivas are my parts and parcels, are my fragmental particles. Mama eva amsha. We are amsha of Krishna. Mama eva amsha, Krishna is saying. Then he's saying Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. The Jivas are Sanatana. The Jivas are eternal. We are eternal. So we are not supposed to die. We are not supposed to grow old. No, we are not supposed to get any disease. So the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts, Krishna says. But we are struggling. Why are we struggling if we are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna? Because due to the conditioned life, we are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. This is the reason we are struggling. Although we are Sanatanaha, although we are eternal, we are struggling very hard. So this verse actually shows how powerful the mind is. The mind is going to lead us to sense gratification. The mind is always going to tempt us and lead us to sense gratification. So all the senses are around the mind. The mind desires, and then the senses, we want to satisfy our senses because that's what the mind is telling us to do. And therefore, we are struggling very, very hard, Krishna is saying. So unless we don't surrender to Krishna, we will not be happy. We will not be happy because again, we are Mama Eva Amsha. We are parts and parcels of Krishna. We are Sanatana. We are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. So how can we be happy as long as we are separated? How can a child be happy as long as he's separated from his loving father? So the original position of every living entity, that we are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. We belong to him in the spiritual world. But our current position is what Krishna said. We are now struggling hard with the mind and senses in the material world. So this is our original position, but this is our current position. So when we ditch this current position and we go back to our original position, we realize our eternal nature. When we come to that realization, when we go back home, back to Godhead, then only we can be happy. See here how we are struggling with the mind. So much of struggle just to exist, no? Just to exist, just to survive. Just to survive, there is so much of struggle, so much of struggle. The word karshati, struggling or grappling hard, is very, very significant. The conditioned soul is bound up as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound up by the false ego, and the mind is the chief agent which is driving him in this material existence. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So this is from the second chapter. We have already seen this verse. So see, the senses are so strong that they carry away the mind of even a man of discrimination. We saw how Arjuna also was carried away at the beginning of the war. So this chariot, these 5 horses represent the
senses.
the 5 senses. Yes, very nice. And who is this person here? The passenger is the?
Is it the mind?
No. The passenger is the?
Soul,
The soul. Yes, very nice. And the driver is the?
mind.
No. The driver can control the horses through the reins. So the reins are what and the driver is what? We can control the mind through?
Intelligence.
Intelligence, yeah.
Intelligence, yes. So the driver is intelligent and the reins are the mind. So if these reins are free, if you allow your mind to do whatever it wants to do, if you engage in the dictates of the mind, then the horses are going to run wild. But you can control the mind through intelligence. You can control the mind by having that. What kind of intelligence? Intelligence coming from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. That no, what if I engage in the dictates of the mind, I'm going to land up in hell. I'm going to end up struggling more and more in this material existence. So we have to control the mind through our intelligence. Higher than the mind is the intelligence. Higher than the intelligence is the soul. Higher than the soul is the
Ego.
higher than the soul is the
Is it super soul?
super soul. Yes, exactly. Higher than the soul is the super soul. Very nice, Shivani. See here, the individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and the intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. This is from chapter number 6. And what is superior to what? The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. And of course, higher than the soul is the super soul. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mataji, what is dull matter?
Dull matter is your gross elements. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Hare Krishna. Do we have any questions or comments? So sometime today we will be putting up the exam of chapter 15. Yeah, you'll have some 2 weeks because the next class, if Krishna so sanctions, we'll complete this particular chapter and then we can go on to chapter number 16.
Mataji, for Balram Jayanti coming on Monday. Sorry, Balram
Yes,
Purnima.
Balram Jayanti on Monday, at least in this part of the world. I don't know. When is it in India? When is Balram Jayanti in India? Purnima?
I think it'll be a day
Monday.
after us.
Monday?
Monday.
Okay, so on Balram Jayanti, we fast till 12 noon. Lord Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. And Balaram teaches us, no? He teaches us how we can perfectly serve Krishna. Balaram actually all the material worlds and the spiritual worlds, everything is coming from Balaram. It's Balaram who expands as the first quadruple expansions. And then from the first quadruple expansions comes Narayan. And then the second quadruple expansion. And then again, Balaram expands as the 3 Vishnus. So all these spiritual worlds and material worlds is taking place because of Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram appeared in the Treta Yuga as
Lakshmana.
Lakshman. No, he came in Dwapara Yuga as
Balram.
Balaram himself. Yes, as Krishna's elder brother. No, previously he came the younger brother.
As
Lakshmana
younger
was the
brother.
younger brother, but then later he came as the elder brother. And then in Kali Yuga he came as
Nityananda.
Lord Nityananda, no? And as Balaram in all the, you see, he has done very, very difficult services, very difficult services. Like when he came as Lakshman was given very, very difficult services. For example, when Sita sent Lord Ram in search of the deer, Lord Ram gave Lakshman instruction, don't leave Sita, take care of Sita. But then when Sita heard the cries of Marichi, but he was actually imitating Lord Ram, Sita gave him a contradicting instruction. No, she said, go and see what happened to Lord Ram, because she was concerned for her husband's well-being. So Lakshman had this what to do, because the brother has given him one instruction and the brother's wife is giving another contradicting instruction. So very, very difficult service for Lakshman. No? Eventually Lakshman went drawing the line, but then Sita was kidnapped. And then Lord Ram chastised Lakshman. Why didn't you follow my instruction? Another difficult seva that Lakshman did was when Sita was returned, when Ravan was killed and Sita came back to Lord Ram and Sita had to pass through the fire. Of course, later it was revealed that Sita had to pass through the fire because the Sita that was coming back from the kingdom of Ravan is not the real Sita. She was only a Chaya Sita, but this was revealed later. No, but then when it was Sita who instructed Lakshman, light the fire because it's being my chastity is being questioned, no? So she told Lakshman, light the fire. And then Lakshman looked at Lord Ram, what's happening? And Ram didn't say, don't do it. So it was very, very difficult service for Lakshman to actually light that fire for Sita, no? through which Sita was going to enter, and they thought that they are going to lose her forever. So like that, Lakshman has done very, very difficult services. Balaram did very difficult services as Lakshman. Then when he came as Balaram also, he did a very difficult service, which was he became the spiritual master of Duryodhan. Imagine having a disciple like Duryodhan, someone so evil and so adamant as Duryodhan. No, it was not easy for Balaram. And then as Lord Nityananda also, he did very difficult services. He had to go and preach to the fallen conditioned souls. We saw how he preached to Jagai and Madai, and he was even struck by that pot, no? And Lord Nityananda was bleeding. So like that, Lord Balaram has done very, very difficult services. And he also did a very, very important service as Balaram, was that when Krishna left Vrindavan and he was living in Dwarka, Krishna sent Balaram to Vrindavan to pacify the Vrajavasis, because the Vrajavasis were feeling so much separation from Krishna. He sent Balaram. Krishna sent Balaram to Vrindavan, and Balaram actually stayed there for 2 months to pacify the Vrajavasis. And it's described by the Acharyas that when Balaram went and pacified the Vrajavasis, they were feeling fully satisfied, because Balaram is not different from Krishna. No, so Krishna sent Balaram not only with this message, but actually Krishna's heart went with Balaram to Vrindavan to pacify the Vrajavasis. So he pacified the Vrajavasis, and he was a connecting link between the Vrajavasis and Krishna. They were feeling fully pacified only after Lord Balaram went to Vrindavan, and he promised them that Krishna will return. So you can see how Balaram, we can learn from Lord Balaram how we should execute our services, no? How to serve Krishna to perfection. There is no difference between Balaram and Krishna. The only difference in terms of potency and power, there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. Only difference is the difference of the complexion. No? Krishna is blue, Balaram is white. No? So the only difference between the two is the color, but there is no difference in potency and the power. He is Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, and Balaram is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. Servitor Godhead. How can you serve perfectly? So that is Balaram. Balaram also represents Akhanda Guru Tattva. Akhanda Guru Tattva. All the bona fide spiritual masters get their empowerment from Lord Balaram. Get their empowerment from Lord Balaram. So please attend Balaram Purnima celebrations in your local temples. Here in Santiago also we have Monday starting from 4 p.m. We have Kirtan, 5 o'clock is the class. The class will be in English with translation in Spanish, and then followed by Kirtan Aarti, and 7:30 is the dinner prasad here in Chile.
Monday or Sunday, ma'am? Yeah, it's
Monday.
on Sunday, no?
Sorry, celebration is on Sunday, but Balaram
Okay.
Purnima is on Monday. So you
Yeah.
fast on Monday, but the celebration is on Sunday.
Yeah.
So the fasting starts from Monday morning, right?
Yeah, Monday when you get up from your sleep, you don't eat or drink, if you can, if your health so permits, till 12 noon.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mataji, what about for Tuesdays, Srila Prabhupadaji's yes.
Srila Prabhupada's appearance is the following week, after
Okay.
the next day of Janmashtami, not the next day
Okay.
of Bhadrapur.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I got confused. I thought
Yeah.
so many things are happening. So should
Yeah.
we make
There are many
anything like
festivals.
special for the Purnima for Monday? Is there anything special we're supposed to do, like cooking wise?
Yeah, Balaram Purnima, you can read about the pastimes of Lord Balaram. You can go, if you cannot go to the temple, then you can meditate and focus and read about the pastimes of Lord Balaram. And of course, you're fasting till 12 noon, increase your japa and pray to Lord Balaram, pray to Guru Tattva, so that he can remove all your obstacles in your spiritual life. And if you cannot attend the local temple, then you can watch online also YouTube, how the festival is being celebrated. It's very important, actually, as far as possible, we should attend these festivals in the temple. Because it is a time, it's like if your friend is inviting you for a birthday party and you don't go, your friend will not like it, no? So we try to attend the birthday party so that our friends don't feel offended. So like that, it's the birthday of Lord Balaram. We should go to the temple and we should celebrate with all the devotees. It's very important to attend the festivals in the temple. So if you can't do that because of your circumstances, then you try to attend online or You meditate on the pastimes of Lord Balaram. You read his pastimes. Increase your japa.
Thank you, Mataji. Pray for me that I can go. Somehow I find ways of going. Like it's like like people run away and they come back. So that is my position. I go and then I come back. And I don't inform, but they know where I'm going. I have no other place than temple. So hopefully I will be able to go this Monday and the following week as well.
Jai.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
8 days after Balaram Purnima comes Janmashtami. And the next day of Janmashtami is Prabhupada's appearance day. So we have, and then again we have Radhashtami.
Yes.
15 days after Janmashtami is Radhashtami. No, Radhashtami is before, right? When does Radhashtami come? Wait, let me check the dates here. Radhashtami comes before Janmashtami.
It's the other way around, no, Mataji? First is Janmashtami and then Radhashtami after 2 weeks.
Yes. 11th September is Radhashtami. Yes. First is Janmashtami and then Radhashtami.
Then Radha, yes, exactly.
Yeah, 2 weeks after Janmashtami is Radhashtami. Yeah, because Prabhupada said that Janmashtami is only an indication that Radhashtami is coming. No, the big festival is Radhashtami. So yes, 2 weeks after Janmashtami is Radhashtami. I'm sorry. So 11th September is Radhashtami, here in Chile at least. Okay, anything else?
Mataji, when does Kartik start?
Kartik, I'll tell you 1 second. Here it starts on the 17th of October in Chile.
Okay.
17th October to 15th November.
17th
So for you,
to
it may be
15th.
either on the same date or 1 day before or after. We have to check the calendar for you. But
Wow.
17th October is the date, approx. For Chile, it is 17th.
That's
Anything else we need to discuss? Okay, then, since there are no questions or comments, we'll see you in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Till then, have a nice weekend. Krishna consciousness. Vanchakalpataruvyascha kripa sindhu vyayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna,
much.
Dhanapranam Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hare